All right, so continuing talking about research and evaluating sources. So now we're going to talk about using the CRAAP test for your sources. And this helps you figure out if a source is credible and kind of guides you quickly through the types of questions that you need to ask. So let's look at this. All right, so evaluating source credibility using the CRAAP test. This is an easy way to remember how to judge, basically, if a source is good for you to use or if it's just junk and you just need to not even waste your time and move on. So the first thing, again, we'll start with the C. You recognize this, I imagine, from your previous notes that we have taken. Currency. So remember, this doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with time. So, is this current? So the questions that you could ask are, is the information still relevant, or does it apply to what we know this day and age? Was the information published or updated recently? Or is it, something that's 50 years old and out of date and out of touch? And are the links still working? So, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, I'd say, I don't know an exact percentage, but probably majority of the time, if the links they don't go to the correct page, then that means there have been massive updates, or maybe whoever owns that site doesn't update it anymore. So those are just kind of red flags. Next is the R, which is for relevancy. So does the information relate to your research topic? Okay, does it even go with it? Or is it something that will kind of send you off and, you kind of go down a rabbit hole with your research? So remember, you want to stay on track with what you're talking about or what you're wanting to talk about with your topic. Did you research a variety of sources before choosing this one? So remember, when you're researching, you're just not just like, oh, I'm just gonna go with the first however many sources I find, just hope for the best. So that is not what you want to do. You want to be picky. There's nothing wrong with being picky. Don't settle for just any source, okay? Because this is the foundation for whether your research is credible or not, whether you are credible or not with being able to research things. So the next question is, who is the intended audience? Is the information at an appropriate level for your research? So remember, you have to look at the rhetorical triangle, take all of those things into account. So even at this stage, even we talked about that at the beginning of the semester, and still the rhetorical triangle, it doesn't matter what you are writing. If you're writing a baby book or if you are writing a doctoral dissertation, you have to keep that in mind. So again, who is the intended audience? Is the research that you're finding, is this article, is this website, whatever, is this relevant for who your intended audience is? The next is the A, which is authority. So who's the author, the publisher, or the sponsor? Is the author an expert on the topic? Remember, if they, for example, doctor, that is a big one that kind of gets thrown around a lot. You might see infomercials where some doctor so-and-so uses blah, blah, blah. Or you might see an article written by Dr. So-and-so, and they're going to give this opinion about something. Okay, great. What is their doctorate in? So, as you know, I'm getting my doctorate in education. So I'm not going to be a medical doctor. I'm not going to be a PhD. I'm going to be an EDD. So does that mean that if they say Dr. Mason said, blah, blah, blah about, for example, let's say COVID and the COVID vaccine, people might think, oh, well, she is a medical doctor. She is an expert on that. Well, I might know a lot of things about it. My dad was a microbiologist. He was a PhD, not an MD, but he was, Dr. So-and-so. And I do know some things, but I'm not an expert. Okay, so I have opinions and thoughts, and I do know some facts, but I have not been trained in that field. And so sometimes you might see that even with, dentist commercials for like toothpaste and stuff. Dr. So-and-so recommends this. Now they might actually be a, psychiatrist, and they're that kind of doctor and not a dentist, but they're still using that kind of authoritative, I guess, name to validate their product. So that's just something you have to pay attention to. Okay, this person said this. What's their background? Do they just have an opinion, or do they have actual weight behind their opinion that makes it more meaningful? Remember, look at the ethos, right? The next is, to what organizations or universities is the author connected? So oftentimes, especially with really good research, that is a part of being a basically full-time tenured faculty member at the college and university level, is that you're constantly researching, whether it be like in the lab for sciences, or some kind of theoretical thing outside of, like you say, like in English or whatever. So are they producing this information and they have this backing from a university that's helping them, or are they just kind of going rogue? Or is it also published on a .gov or .edu domain? So .edu, if you are not familiar with that, that is for schools. So edu, education, that's the root in there. So typically those are reputable. .gov, that's for government sites, typically very reputable. So those are ones that you can pretty much always just bet on. Those are going to be pretty solid. The next A is accuracy. So where does the information come from? Is the information substantiated with evidence? Has the information been peer reviewed or refereed? So were there peers that came in and peers that are experts in this, that have reviewed this and they're like, yeah, this is sound, this is legit. We agree that this person isn't just like off the wall just saying whatever. The facts, information they are giving are plausible. The next is, can you verify any information with another source or from personal knowledge? So do you know enough about this that you can verify, okay, yes, this makes sense? Does the language or tone seem unbiased and free of emotion? Now, we have spoken previously about, bias can, it's there whether you realize it or not in some way, shape, or form, and you can try to minimize it, but it's still always kind of sort of there. But you can try your best to not be biased and just give both sides of the story, just give the facts, not going in and giving opinion. So if something is largely opinion based, then that's a red flag, because facts aren't opinions, facts are facts. So you just want to have as much of the facts as you can. And lastly, are there any spelling or grammatical errors, typos, all of that? So that can be a red flag. Now, people are people, and there will be typos. It happens. I catch them all the time. But if you see a lot and they are like, glaring, then that is also a red flag. And just kind of put that information in your back pocket. It might just be an error, but you also just kind of definitely pay attention to it. And lastly is purpose. So what is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, to teach, sell, entertain, persuade? Do the author or sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Is the information factual, opinion, or is it propaganda? Is the point of view objective or impartial? And lastly, are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? So all of these things, let me get back here. All right, so all of these things, these are all super important for you guys to pay attention to when you are doing your research. So if you just want to write down the CRAAP to kind of help you remember all these things to pay attention to, that is a very easy thing to look at. I also have this PDF posted on Blackboard for you guys. So if you have any questions, just let me know.